So the Buddha in the Mahā Nidāna Sutta proceeded to say more about birth as a requisite condition of aging and death. It starts off it by saying, if there were no birth at all, in any way, of anything, anywhere, the way the sutta is written, it's very logically tight. It covers the field. So when the Buddha says, if there was no birth at all, in any way, so whatever kind of birth that is, of anything, anywhere, so it covers that. And after saying that, the Buddha gave examples: devas in the state of devas, celestials in the state of celestials, spirits in the state of spirits, demons in the state of demons, human beings in the human state, quadrupeds in the state of quadrupeds, birds in the state of birds, snakes in the state of snakes, or of any being in its own state. And it's interesting, in the examples given in this section of the sutta, it kind of hints at the cosmology of the Buddha in this time. And this cosmology is shared with other Sanskrit, the Sanskritic world in that region, like the having devas, celestials, spirits, demons, human beings, and then the animals. But then again, at the end, it covers the field with any being in its own state. And again, here we go again. The sutta is not just saying spirits, full stop. It's saying spirits in the state of spirits. There's that coupling of the thing existing and the way that thing perceives this is the thing it exists in. So later, when in this journey of ours together, we might look at parallel developments in philosophy and also in science, where it's been studied that each creature, like a bird, a snake, humans, we all have our own Umwelt. And I guess that's I'm a human being in a human state. I'm a human with my Umwelt as a human. And then if I'm a snake with the Umwelt of a snake. So even back then they have it's already in the Buddhist project. Some of these things we've rediscovered later on in cognitive science. And another side note on this part of the sutta is, it's a side note that there's a view that somehow when the Buddhist project got taken up in the West, there's like almost like a Protestantination. It's like how in the Christian world there's the Protestants who got rid of all the saints and who just the fundamentalism on belief and predestination, all that. Some of that seeped into how the West took complexity of the Buddhist project, how the Buddhist project is so geographically vast, but they took what they see from that Protestant standpoint of the Enlightenment and all that. And in a way, before I undertook this deeper study in Buddhism, I always thought, Buddhism is very scientific, it's very clear, there's no gods, there's no spirits and that, but it's in the sutta. You can see the cosmology includes non-physical beings. It's maybe the way it was taken up in the West. It may appear to some that the real Buddhism doesn't believe in all this belief, or doesn't refer to, or doesn't talk about demons, but clearly it's in the sutta, and it's also, as you see, as you saw earlier, it's in the Buddhist art, or art in the Buddhist world. So it may not be in some Zen, American Zen kind of Buddhism, but it's in all the other Buddhisms. So there are many Buddhisms. It's a vast landscape we're looking at. It's a vast cognitive landscape, and the more we go on with this, the more we'll see the different factors at play. In the utter absence of birth, from the cessation of birth, would aging and death be discerned? It's also logically tight when he says the utter absence of and the cessation. So birth is absent, and whatever birth is happening, it stops. And the question is, would aging and birth and death be discerned? There's this thing of the way it's phrased, would aging and death be discerned. To me, this points to in the Buddhist project's way of seeing things, there's no separation between how we know things, how we sense things, how we perceive things, and the way it is. There's less of a, for example, from what I've learned from the Western tradition, there's ontology, the being, and there's epistemology, how do you know things, and it's a specialized, they try to disentangle the two, but in at least from what I've read so far in the Buddhist project, they're very interlinked. So they're co-arising. That's what we're talking about. The way I know, that's why it's name and form and consciousness. They're interlinked. It's not like one comes before the other. They arise together. So that's why it's saying the discernment of aging and death is inseparable from, without discerning if aging and death is there or not, then we can't really know if it's there or not without the discernment. Because if there's nothing discerning, there's no way to know it, right? So it's really, we'll go more into this as we go along this path, but there's this link, and it also applies fractally in many levels in the way we do the practices, the way we understand the teachings, and the way we live life. Yeah, so it's very whole, it's linked, it's distinct, it's very logically precise, but also it's logically tight. It's not like wishy-washy the way I read the sutta. In the utter absence of birth, from the cessation of birth, would aging and death be discerned? No. And because the answer is no, birth is then a cause, a reason, an origination, a requisite condition for aging and death. Further exposition, further discussion of birth as demonstrable requisite condition for aging and death. See you on the next one.